Good morning, TikTok.
Sa ating kapamamayan, magkasangga tayo, magkasangga, magkakapit, magkasangga, magkakapit.
Ang programang ito ay hatid sa inyo ng Equilibrium Probiotics. Ito ay ang bagong food supplement na gawa sa mga piling gulay at prutas at dumaan sa isang masusing proseso para mapangalagaan ang inyong kalusugan. Ang Equilibrium Probiotics ay dinisenyo para sa kalusugan ng ating tiyan, tulungan ng pagkuha ng sapat na nutrisyon at ang pagpapalabas sa ating sistema ng mga nakakasirang toxins. Ang Equilibrium Probiotics ay may iba't ibang disenyo at sangkap base sa inyong pangangailangan. Mula sa boost para sa mga bata, fortitude, gusto great, miracle fruit, periwinkle, at ang pinakabago, liver fruit. Ang Equilibrium Probiotics ay may pagmamalaki na produktong gawa sa talina. Ito ay mabibili sa Dasyen, Geta Road, San Sebastian, Phase 3, Binaugana, Tarlac City. At para sa mga malalayong lugar, mabibili din ang produkto ng Equilibrium Probiotics sa Lazada. Ito ay eksklusibong gawa ni Ginang Malu Reyes Nure. Ano pang hinihintay nyo, mga kasangga? Hala, bili na!
Magandang umaga po, mga kasangga. Nandito naman po ang ating daily program ng MSB Kape at Balita sa Umaga. Maghahatid po sa inyo ng mga nagbabagang balita na ganap sa ating sa loob at labas ng ating bansa. Pero bago po natin simulan ng ating araw, ang ating pagbabalita, samahan niyo po muna ako sa isang maikling panalangin. Sa ngalan ng Ama at ng Anak ng Espiritu Santo. Amen. Mahal na aming lumikha, maraming salamat sa bagong araw na ipinagkaloob ninyo sa amin. Sa mapayapang gabing lumipas at sa patuloy na pagbuhos ng iyong mga biyaya sa amin at sa aming bayan. Naway ipagkaloob mo pa sa amin ang lakas at tibay ng loob upang mapaglabanan ng kasamaan at manatili po kami sa paggawa ng mabuti sa kapwa at sa pagsunod sa inyong itinurong tamang landas. Lahat ng gawain namin, inaalay namin sa iyong anak na si Jesus, sa aming Panginoon. Amen. Sa ngalan ng Ama, ng Anak ng Espiritu Santo. Amen.
MSB Kape at Balita sa Umaga. Hatid sa inyo ni Kuya Dong.
At bago po natin simulan ng ating news reading for today, shout out po muna. Good morning, Gladys. Aga mo At shout out din sa iyong lola na kasama mong nanonood ngayon. And of course, to our TikTok viewers, thank you very much for joining me this morning in our regular news reading. At sa mga kasamahan po natin dyan sa Instagram. And of course, sa ating mga regular viewers dito po sa ating Facebook live streaming. Good morning po. And here is a summary of our top stories for today. Senators set probe on Rizal boat tragedy. Okay, good morning, Rochelle, our favorite baker. DA, Egay agriculture damage hits 1.53 billion pesos. Falcon intensifies before leaving par today. Global news, World Youth Day, the biggest event in the Catholic Church. In regional stories, teachers hit continued work during school break. State of calamity up in Bataan, Pampanga. Angat, other dams water levels continue to rise. And finally, in sports, Filipinas crash out of World Cup, fall to mighty Norway. Top news for today is brought to you by Equilibrium Probiotics. Please scan the QR code to see the benefits of using and drinking Equilibrium Probiotics. Continuing with our headline, Senator set probe on Rizal boat tragedy. By report by Cecil Suerte Felipe to the Philippine Star. Manila, Philippines. The Senate is preparing to investigate the deaths of 27 passengers who drowned on July 27 after their boat capsized in Laguna de Bay in Binangonan, Rizal at the tail end of Typhoon Egay. Egay battered central and northern Luzon last week before exiting toward Taiwan. The motor bangka Aya Express, with a seating capacity of 42, but which had 70 passengers at that time, was en route to Talim Island when it started to tilt to one side and its outrigger broke. It's sad and infuriating that this happened. The loss of so many lives is not a joke, just because of negligence or maybe corruption. So we must find out in the investigation. Senator Grace Poe, concurrently chairperson of the Senate Committee on Public Services, said in Filipino yesterday. The investigation must shed light on why the Philippine Coast Guard allowed the motorboat to sail despite the inclement weather, according to Poe. The PCG has relieved its personnel assigned in Binangonan and will determine if they can be held liable for the incident, according to PCG spokesman Rear Admiral Armand Balilo in a July 29 news forum. Post said the investigation may include victims of past sea tragedies to determine the outcome of their cases and whether families have been properly compensated. Senator Rafi Tulfo said the PCG and Maritime Industry Authority should be held accountable. Senator Jinggoy Estrada said we must hold those responsible accountable for their actions or inactions that may have contributed to this tragedy. Meanwhile, Senator Sherwin Gatchalian filed a Senate resolution into the government's readiness to mitigate the impact of El Nino. There is an urgent need to assess the capability of concerned government agencies and determine the planned interventions to mitigate the impact of El Nino, Gatchalian said. PCG probes. PCG Commandant Admiral Artemio Abu has ordered Marine Casualty Investigation Panel to immediately investigate the incident. My instruction is to submit the Administrative Investigation Report ASAP, Abu said. Balilo said the panel is composed of lawyers from PCG's National Capital Region, Central Luzon District. tasked with finding out the cause of the maritime incident, with additional reports from Evelyn Makairan. Next on our top news, DA, Egay agriculture damage hits 1.53 billion pesos, with report by Bella Carriazo to the Philippine Star. Manila, Philippines. The damage of Typhoon Egay to the agriculture sector has reached 1.53 billion peso, affecting 99,272 farmers and fisherfolk in 8 regions, the Department of Agriculture reported yesterday. In its latest bulletin, the DA said at least 66.075 metric tons of produce were lost, covering 110 and 86 10,086 hectares of agricultural areas in the Cordillera Administrative Region or CAR, Ilocos Region, Cagayan Valley, Central Luzon, Calabarzon, Mimaropa, Western Visayas, and Cariaga. The affected commodities include rice, corn, high-value crops, livestock and poultry, and fisheries. Damage was also incurred in agricultural facilities and fishing paraphernalia, the DA said. According to the DA, the damage and losses were reported for palay amounting to 654.6 billion or 17.705 metric tons, covering at least 50,050 hectares. Meanwhile, damage to corn plantations reached 652.2 million or 38.587 metric tons, covering at least 58,585 hectares of land. It added that for high-value crops, the total damage reached 190.6 million, covering at least 1,452 hectares. Livestock and poultry, 12.1 million, covering 9,143 heads. On the other hand, at least 20.8 million pesos worth of agricultural infrastructure were also destroyed by Typhoon Egay. These values are subject to validation. Additional damage and losses are expected in areas affected by the continuous rain and strong winds brought by Egay. Through its regional field offices, the department is assessing the impacts caused by Egay in agriculture and fishery sector, the DA added. The DA gave assurance that it is continuously coordinating with local government units to ensure assistance to the affected farmers and fisherfolk. It said that a total of 111,873 bags of rice seeds, 14,426 bags of corn seeds, and 2,582 kilos of assorted vegetable seeds, drugs, and biologics for livestock and poultry, and fingerlings to affected fisherfolk were distributed to CAR Regions 1, 2, 3, Calabarzon, Mimaropa, 6, and 13. According to the DA, the affected farmers and fishers can avail themselves of the 25,000 peso loan under the Survival and Recovery Loan Program from the Agricultural Credit Policy Council. It said that at least 500 million peso was allocated under the Quick Response Fund for the rehabilitation of affected areas. Damage to Negros agricultural livestock. The Provincial Disaster Management Program Division reported yesterday that the damage to agricultural, livestock, and fishery products in Negros Occidental as a result of Typhoon Egay is placed at 91.8 million pesos. Of the 91,819,666.22 damage, the agricultural sector sustained 45,118,398 peso, while the fisheries sector suffered 46,098,418.11 pesos in losses and 602,830 pesos losses for the livestock sector. The PDMPD also reported 697 houses were either destroyed or partially damaged by continuing rains, with 28 families composed of 102 persons still staying in evacuation centers as of July 28. MMDA sends team to CAR. The Metropolitan Manila Development Authority dispatched a 20-man team to CAR to aid ongoing response operations in communities affected by Egay. MMDA Acting Chairman Don Artes then announced that the contingent from the MMDA Public Safety Division departed for CAR on Saturday night. 3 teams will be sent to Kabayan, Abra, while 1 team will head to Benguet, the MMDA said in a statement.
6 o'clock.
The group will set up water purifiers in communities facing water supply issues. The solar-powered water purifier units that they will bring have the capacity to filter 180 gallons of water per hour. They will also assist in road clearing operations in areas that experience flooding and landslides. The MMDA team is equipped with 50 units of water purifiers, chainsaws, rotary saws, generators, rechargeable lights, and other necessary tools. AFP still looking for terrorist groups. Armed Forces of the Philippines Chief of Staff General Romeo Bronner Jr. said that troops being deployed to join humanitarian and relief activities to help residents and localities affected by the typhoon are still on the lookout for communist terrorist group attacks. Bronner, in a radio interview on DCBB yesterday morning, said that the AFP has noted that rebel groups take advantage of such calamities and post-calamity activities of the AFP to stage armed attacks on government forces and so have made sure to continue their anti-insurgency operations parallel to humanitarian operations conducted by the military. While we help in this so-called HADR or humanitarian assistance and disaster response with all the core competencies of the armed forces, we ensure we still watch over the security of the state. Firstly, in terms of internal security, we continue our operations against communist terrorists. Sometimes it is really saddening because they even stage ambush attacks on our soldiers who help disaster victims or they seize relief goods meant for disaster victims. Bronner said in a mix of Filipino and English. There were instances when they attacked not only soldiers but policemen and also civilians. That's why when we have calamities, we remain on red alert, he added. Marcos wants agriculture damage reports. President Marcos has ordered officials of the LGUs adversely affected by Egay to submit a detailed report on the damage to agriculture so that national government can immediately address the particular needs of farmers in their jurisdictions. Marcos, who is also Agriculture Secretary, made a directive during the situation briefings. He presided separately with governors in Regions 1, 2, and CAR on Saturday. We will provide as much as we can in terms of assistance. In terms of seedlings, Marcos told local chief executives during a briefing in Cagayan Valley. The president said they would determine the variety of rice that would be distributed to affected farmers in northern Luzon that can withstand the rainy season. Marcos presided over briefings in Bangued, Abra, Lawag City, Ilocos Norte, and Tuguegarao, Cagayan. He also conducted aerial inspections of the affected areas in Abra and Ilocos Norte. Based on initial report of the Department of Agriculture, the sector incurred approximately 1.243 billion peso in damage and losses in three regions. The figure is still expected to rise in coming days as more LGUs submit their respective reports, the agency said. Marcos said the government would also conduct an inventory of damaged public schools to ensure a smooth opening of classes in August. Ferry victims' families get support. Meanwhile, bereaved families of those killed in the Binangonan tragedy are getting assistance from the Department of Health. According to DOH, mental health and psychological support as well as medical assistance shall be provided to the grieving families. The DOH is focused on sending our condolences to the families left behind and in sending the much needed support to them, the DOH Calabarzon said in a statement. The agency also expressed sadness over the death of health worker who was on her way to perform her duty when the tragedy struck. We are deeply saddened by the death of another fellow health worker who risked her life in the performance of her duty, DOH said. The MBIA Express capsized in Laguna Lake near Binangonan, Rizal, while en route to Talim Island last Thursday, resulting in the death of at least 27 people. With additional reports from Gilbert Bayoran, Mark Ernest Villesa, Rainer Alan Ronda, Helen Flores, and Mayan J. Malin. Good morning, Bro Ramon Berenger, our PWD President here in Barangay Maligaya. Magandang umaga sa iyo, Brad. Moving on to our next top news. Falcon intensifies before leaving par today. Report by the Philippine Star. Manila, Philippines. Severe tropical storm Falcon is expected to leave the Philippine area of responsibility tonight or tomorrow morning and may further intensify into a typhoon, according to the Philippine Atmospheric, Geophysical and Astronomical Services Administration. At a briefing, Pag-asa weather specialist Alzar Aurelio said the Falcon, international name Kanun, continues to enhance the southwest monsoon, bringing rains to the entire Luzon and western Visayas. Aurelio added that the center of Tropical Storm Falcon was located 1,180 kilometers east of northern Luzon with maximum sustained winds of 95 kilometers per hour near the center and gustiness of up to 115 kilometers per hour as it moved north-northwestward at 15 kilometers per hour. There is a low possibility that it will make landfall, Aurelio said. He noted that Falcon may still develop into a typhoon today. Intense to torrential rain is expected in Zambales and Bataan, while heavy to intense rain in Occidental Mindoro, moderate to heavy rain in Metro Manila, Cavite, Pangasinan, Tarlac, Pampanga, Bulacan, Palawan, including Cuyo, Calamian, and Kalayaan Islands, and Antique, Aurelio added. Aurelio warned of flooding in the affected areas. We should remain on alert as the soil is saturated, causing possible landslides, he added. According to Aurelio, other areas to be affected by monsoon rains include Romblon, Ilocos Region, Northern Samar, a big portion of Calabarzon, Bicol Region, Abra, Benguet, and Western Visayas. Aurelio said that due to the influence of the enhanced southwest monsoon, gale warning is in effect over several coastal waters along western seaboard of Luzon. Sea travel is risky for small sea crafts. For larger vessels operating in gale conditions requires experienced and properly equipped vessels. Mariners without proper experience or operating ill-equipped vessels are advised to remain in port or seek safe harbor, the State Weather Bureau said. Good morning, Brother Edwin Corpus. Salamat sa iyong pagsali sa akin ngayong umaga. Moving on to our global story. World Youth Day, the biggest event in the Catholic Church. Report by Clement Melky, Agence France Press to the Philippine Star. Vatican City, Holy See. The World Youth Day, which takes place next week in Lisbon, in the presence of Pope Francis and expected 1 million pilgrims, is the largest Catholic event in the world. Initiated in 1986 by Pope John Paul II, the global gathering is normally held every 2 or 3 years, although the calendar was disrupted by the coronavirus pandemic, and the most recent World Youth Day was in Panama City in 2019. The 16th international edition this year runs from August 1 to August 6, presided over by 86-year-old Pope Francis, making his first trip abroad since undergoing hernia surgery in June. The week revolves around a series of cultural, spiritual, and festive events, from concerts to debates and prayer sessions. Events are targeted at Catholics between age 16 and 35, although organizers insist that everyone is welcome to attend, with no registration necessary. More than 700 bishops and 20 cardinals will attend, alongside 20,000 volunteers and pilgrims from more than 200 countries, according to the Vatican. The young people will initially spend time in different dioceses across Portugal before gathering in the capital, which is preparing with about 16,000 members of law enforcement and emergency services to be deployed. World Youth Day is spread across several venues in Lisbon, a city of 550,000 inhabitants already busy with summer tourists. Key monuments with the Pope include Key moments with the Pope include Thursday's welcome ceremony, the Station of the Cross on Friday, a vigil on Saturday night, and large mass on Sunday morning. The Argentine pontiff is expected to address themes such as climate change, social media, and the scandal of clerical sex abuse of children that has caused enormous damage to the reputation of the worldwide Catholic Church. The first International World Youth Day was held in Rome in 1986, following two successful gatherings of young people in the Italian capital in 1984 and 1985. Then came Buenos Aires in Argentina in 1987, Santiago de Compostela in Spain in 1989, Czechoslovakia in Poland 1991, Denver in the United States 1993, and Manila in the Philippines 1995. They were followed by Paris, France 1997, Rome again in 2000, Toronto, Canada in 2002, Cologne, Germany 2005, Sydney, Australia 2008, Madrid, Spain in 2011, and Rio de Janeiro, Brazil in 2013. The biggest event was Manila, which drew 5 million pilgrims, followed by Rio de Janeiro with 3.7 million, and Krakow, Poland in 2016 with 3 million. Moving on to our regional top stories. Teachers hit continued work during school break. Report by Janvic Mateo to the Philippine Star. Manila, Philippines. 3 weeks after the official start of the school break, teachers continue with their work to fulfill some of the requirements imposed by the Department of Education, according to a group advocating for teachers' welfare. In many public schools, teachers are spending what should have been their mandatory break to complete their portfolio for the results-based performance management system, which is used for their performance evaluation. Before that, they had to complete other paperwork, such as the records of their students last school year. A few weeks from now, teachers will have to participate in Brigada Escuela and enrollment for the incoming school year, which the DepEd said may start on the last week of August. This is on top of the voluntary National Learning Day camp that the DepEd started implementing this week, along with other learning recovery programs. While teachers receive service credits for some of the activities they take part in during the break, groups said the lack of sufficient rest before the start of a school year may have dire consequences. During the second State of the Nation address on July 24, President Marcos said his administration is working hard to lessen the administrative workload of teachers. We are augmenting as well as our school workforce. 90% of the newly created teaching positions have now been filed, while additional administrative personnel have been hired to unburden the teachers of any extra load, he said. But according to the Alliance of Concerned Teachers, the government should provide clear and definite plans on how the DepEd will lessen the administrative loads and tasks currently handled by classroom teachers. They keep in mind, they keep on saying that they will reduce the administrative load of our teachers, but until now, there is still no clear mechanism on how they will do it. We still do not see enough education support personnel in the schools. ACT Chairperson Vladimir Ketwa said in Filipino, teachers continue to do these administrative duties. It has been more than 21 years since the start of the vacation, 21 days since the start of the vacation in public schools, but there's still no reprieve for teachers due to the reports and paperwork that they ask us to do, he added. Many teachers, he said, continue to report to school despite the mandatory 2-month school break that those in public schools receive in lieu of leave benefits. Kuyas noted that the government failed to provide specific details on the number of positions that have been filed, stressing that there is still a clear shortage of education support personnel in public schools. We were not impressed with this another promise of giving support to teachers as we have not seen any progress since Marcos Duterte administration started. What we want to hear is a clear plan, not just empty words. Ketua said. Good morning, Daisy Tabago. Thanks for joining me. Next on our regional story, state of calamity up in Bataan, Pampanga. Report by Rick Sapno, the Philippine Star. Manila, Philippines. Meanwhile, the provincial government of Bulacan is considering a similar declaration due to floods that affected 12 towns and 2 cities. Bataan Governor Joet Garcia announced on Saturday that the province is under a state of calamity due to the recent typhoon and the bad weather caused by southwest monsoon and tropical storm Falcon. Garcia said the bad weather destroyed up to 22.38 million worth of agricultural crops. Up to 639 families are staying in different evacuation centers, he said. As this developed, the towns of Macabebe, Masantol, San Simon, and Santo Tomas in Pampanga have been placed under a state of calamity due to massive floods. Santo Tomas was the latest to be placed under a state of calamity following a special session by the municipal board yesterday morning. Several major roads in the province, such as portions of the asphalt Macabebe, the Apalik Macabebe Masantol Road, Buhay Pare San Luis Santo Domingo Road, and the Candaba San Miguel Road, were impassable to all types of vehicles as of yesterday. Meanwhile, Bulacan Governor Daniel Fernando said he might declare a state of calamity, although he would finalize it once he arrives from South Korea. I am scheduled to go home last night, from my mission in South Korea. We are preparing the data for the declaration, Fernando said. Earlier, Ilocos Norte was the first province in northern Luzon to declare a state of calamity, followed by Cagayan, Ilocos Sur, Abra, and several towns and cities in Pangasinan. The provincial government of Bulacan blamed the release of water from Bustos Dam for the massive flooding. Fernando said he has called the attention of the National Irrigation Administration, which handles the operation of Bustos Dam. According to a report from our PDRRMO, at least 700 cubic meters per second of water were released. I was furious, Fernando said, referring to the Provincial Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Office. Based on video footage provided to him by the PDRRMO, he said the volume of water released from the dam was way more than what the NIA claimed. I saw the video. The flow of water at the releasing gate was big, he said, adding that at least 5 gates of the dam are currently releasing water. I have been questioning the stability of the gates. Only 5 of the 6 gates are functioning, and these 5 are unstable, he said. Fernando said the flooding was exacerbated by the high tide and the monsoon rain. Rains are expected to persist as Typhoon Falcon will enhance the monsoon, he said. The Kalumpit District Hospital in Kalumpit, Bulacan stopped accepting patients yesterday afternoon due to the flood. In an advisory sent to the provincial government, hospital administrators said patients who have appointments were advised to reset their schedules. Patients currently admitted in the hospital were transferred to the Bulacan Medical Center in Malolos for continuous treatment. Emergency cases were given first aid before being transferred to other hospitals, the advisory said. Price freeze. The Department of Trade and Industry is implementing price control on prime commodities in all areas hit by the calamities. DTI Secretary Alfredo Pascual told journalists in Lawang, Ilocos Norte, that traders should follow the price freeze order, otherwise they would face consequences. Republic Act 7581, or the Price Act, provides that prices in basic commodities should automatically be frozen in areas placed under a state of calamity. DTI personnel will be deployed in typhoon hit areas to monitor and ensure that the price freeze is properly implemented. With additional reports from June Elias, Ramon Efren Lazaro, and Bella Tariaso. Good morning, admin. Moving on to our next regional story. Angat, other dam water levels continue to rise. Report by Ramon Efren Lazaro to the Philippine Star. Good news po yan. Tumataas na po yung mga tubig ng dam natin na apektado ng El Nino. Manila, Philippines. The water level of Angat Dam continues to rise from its minimum operating level following the rains brought by Typhoon Egay and the effects of approaching Storm Falcon. Records from the Provincial Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Office of Bulacan showed that Angat Dam's water elevation at 8 a.m. on July 30 was at 194 meters or 2.1 meters higher compared to its previous day level of 191.90 meters. This is 18 meters below its normal high water level of 212 meters and is moving closer to a more stable water level for the coming months when El Nino is expected. The effects of the incoming Typhoon Falcon are expected to further raise the water elevation of Angat Dam. On the other hand, Ipo Dam was still releasing a total of 47.20 cubic meters per second of water yesterday morning to its downstream river which flows toward Bustos Dam. Josephine Salazar, Regional Disaster for Central Luzon of the National Irrigation Administration, told the Star. Meanwhile, Bustos Dam deflated its rubber gate number 3 again, discharging 355 cubic meters of water to its downstream river system that slices through the towns of San Rafael, Bustos, Baliwag, Pulilan, Plaridel, Talumpit, Paumbong, and Hagonoy before flowing out to Manila Bay. In a radio interview over DZBB, Bulacan Governor Daniel Fernando blamed Bustos Dam for the floodwater in the towns on its downstream river system after it released more than 700 cubic meters of water. The governor also pointed to the big volume of water from the San Jose del Monte River system as the culprit in the overflowing of the Bukawi River. Motorists felt the brunt of the flood as it inundated a stretch of the North Luzon Expressway in Bulacan, including parts of MacArthur Highway, which are both major thoroughfares. Donna Marcelo, Vice President of the Communication and Stakeholder Management of NLEX Corp, said in a text message to the Star, flooding was due to the overflow of Bukawi River and the release of water from Ipo Dam Saturday. And on to sports. Sunday for our Filipinas players, football players. Filipinas crash out of World Cup, fall to mighty Norway. Report by Luisa Morales to the Philippine Star. Manila, Philippines. There was no miracles in paradise anymore for the Philippine women's national football team as they ended their bid in the 2023 FIFA Women's World Cup with 6-0 loss to Norway at Eden Park in Auckland on Sunday against a world number 12 Norway side that finally seemed to wake up. the Filipinas conceded 3 goals in the first 30 minutes to effectively snuff out their hopes of a last 16 appearance. An otherwise optimistic start for the Filipinas was quickly dissipated by an opening goal from Sofia Roman Hogg in just the 6th minute, the Norwegians' first goal of the tournament. She then followed it up with a similar goal in the 17th minute for a second of 3 in the match. Caroline Graham Hansen, who had made comments about not being in the starting lineup for their match against New Zealand, then made a personal breakthrough with a screamer from outside the box to put Norway comfortably ahead. The Filipinas' woes continued early in the second half, where the defensive effort by Alicia Barker unfortunately ended up in an own goal to further bury the Philippine Booters. The nightmare then turned for the worse as Guru Raiten was awarded the penalty after Jacqueline Sawicki challenge was deemed a trip after VAR review. Raiten then slotted it past Olivia McDaniel to push their lead to 5 in the 52nd minute. Adding insult to injury, sub Sophia Harrison was sent off a little past the hour mark after incurring a red card on what officials deemed excessive force on a challenge against Thea Belgi. The Filipinas thus played the rest of the match with only 10 women on the pitch. Despite being a player down, the Filipinas were able to hold off the sizzling Norwegians as McDaniel provided key saves. But Roman Hogg could not be denied as she completed the hat trick in added time to reach the final score. Worth noting is that Roman Hogg stepped in for injured striker Ada Hegerberg, who is out due to injury. Despite their ouster in the group stage, the Filipinas wrap up a maiden appearance in the World Cup with nothing to be ashamed of as they finish with their first ever goal and win, which came against co-host New Zealand. Next up for the Filipinas will be the Asian Games next month, where they are grouped with South Korea, Hong Kong, Myanmar in Group E. Norway moves on to the next round, along with Switzerland after a 0-0 draw against New Zealand in the other Group A match in Dunedin. New Zealand is also eliminated, becoming the first World Cup host nation to exit in the group stage. And that concludes our top stories for today, July 31, 2023, Monday. And here again is the summary of our stories for today. Senators set probe on Rizal boat tragedy. DA, Egay agriculture damage hits 1.53 billion peso. Falcon intensifies before leaving PAR today. World Youth Day, the biggest event in the Catholic Church. Teachers keep continued work during school break. State of calamity up in Bataan, Pampanga. Angat, other dams, water levels continue to rise. And finally, in sports, Filipinas crash out of World Cup, fall to mighty Norway. Time check, it's 6:32 a.m. Yung sa mga magtatrabaho po dyan, kilos-kilos na. Busy! Busy na po. Baka kayo malate. No? lalo na po, masama pa po yung panahon. No? Hindi pa po tayo pwedeng tumakbo o magmadali sa ating pagmamaneho, sa ating paglalakad. At baka po tayo madulas, kagaya ng nangyari sa akin nung Sabado. So, ingat-ingat po. Mas mahirap po ngayon yung magkasakit o ma-aksidente. Mahal na po lahat ng mga gamot. And finally, shoutout po muna sa mga nag-join po sa ating ngayon, sa ating MSB Kape at Balita sa Umaga. Sila Gladys Tipay at ang kanyang lola, magandang umaga. Si Favorite Baker, Rochelle Taya, good morning. Kay PWD President ng Maligaya, Ramon Baringer, good morning, Brad. Si Brother Edwin Evangelista Corpus, Brother Edwin, good morning. Si Chief. Si Daisy Tabago is also watching. Good morning, Daisy. At si Admin Sol is also watching. Good morning, Sol. At salamat sa iyong pag-antabay. Okay. Maraming salamat po uli sa inyong pagsali sa akin ngayong umaga. Diyan po nagtatapos ang ating pagbabalita. I'll be seeing you again tomorrow. At bago po yun, i-announce ko lang po yung success ng ating nagdaang event nung Sabado. Ito po yung ating first magkasangga para sa AITA. Play for a cause. At nais po natin pasalamat yung mga sponsors po. Mga sponsors ng ating event. At sa lahat ng mga dumalo, maraming salamat po. Dami po sumuporta, dami pong nag-register at naglaro nung araw na yon. Kaya inabot po kami ng gabi. No? Ito po, at papakita ko lang po saglit sa inyo. Yung pong major sponsors natin, Le Farm, Jake, tsaka yung Jake Ward, maliliit. Good Guys Shooting Range, Hidden Vietnam, at saka yung venue mismo natin, Smash Point Sports Center. Sila po. And also, here are the other major sponsors. We have Boss Vic Angles, no? So sila po yung mga sumuporta. Sila Attorney Lito India Castro, Mayor Nora Modomo of Santa Ignacia, Vice Mayor Aro Mendoza of Tarlac City, Board Member Dennis Go, 2nd District of Tarlac, Board Member Topay de los Reyes, 2nd District of Tarlac, Councilor Vlad Rodriguez, Tarlac City, Councilor Ricky Gelaso, Tarlac City, Councilor Emil Ladera, Tarlac City, at si Sir Julie Sir Sevillano. Maraming salamat po. At sana po yung mga susunod pa ng mga event, masuportahan pa po nila. Yan po, no? Yan yung mga sumuporta sa atin. Maraming salamat po sa kanila. Kung hindi po sa kanila, dahil sa kanila, hindi po magiging successful. Kaya good news kay Pastor Bien Torres at kay CM Johnny Sanchez. Nakalikod po tayo ng pera para po kahit papano may pagpatuloy po, no? Although hindi pa po natin makukumpleto sa mga nalikom natin pera, hindi pa po natin makukumpleto yung malaking proyekto natin dyan sa Socorro, but this is a good start. Maganda po simula ito. At any blessing is always taken as a blessing. So maraming salamat po uli. And I'll be seeing you again, guys, tomorrow for our regular MSB Kape at Balita sa umaga. Maraming salamat po.